and Studio 9 Jam on YouTube. With your host, Jessica Ariel Morocco, featuring JP as the voice of Andronicus. Please visit www.readingsbyrael.com, that's A-R-A-E-L.
We came from the future, by way of the past. I bought my ticket for the 15th century. We started moving through a hole in history.
Sorry, that one got a bit cut short.
Okay, yeah, got cut off. Well, thank you. Thanks for joining us today here at Answers from the Universe. And I'm here with JP. Hello, JP.
Hi there, how are you? This is quite a day.
It's quite a day. It's very sunshiny over here. But I got some interesting news, and I think it really explains a whole lot. It's something that I hadn't really researched, but I sort of was hinging on it. And today I had a friend contact me who's very much more involved in the Hindu belief system, and she reminded me of something that was very, very important, that we had entered the stage of the Kali Yuga, which happened this past August. And if anyone knows what Kali does, it will explain everything. Kali pretty much, brings in this kind of destroyer energy. And it's not just for the sake of destroying, similar to Shiva, it's kind of, they break things up and kind of get to the bottom of the matters. And so it's been difficult. I have people, light workers, all different types of people, even people just, typically upbeat, saying, what in the world? This is probably the worst year I've had ever. And just a series of struggles, feeling like they're coming up against a wall, just kind of bringing up a lot of emotions and sorrows and some things that they had never addressed their entire life, and it's sort of coming up right now. So that explains a lot. It explains a lot to me, especially with the type of people coming into my life and looking for help. So anyhow, yeah, the Kali Yuga, which is kind of a time when we go into that dark space, and it also can be reflected upon as the dark night. JP, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, as you know, Kali is, as you say, the counterpart of Shiva. And, in that way, she can be very, appears to be destructive. It's disruptive, certainly, but it appears to be destructive, and you could almost say like the events of 9/11, where they had to destroy the buildings because they were dangerous. They were full of asbestos. So they basically destroyed it to remake something better. And that's the kind of idea of Kali. It's like, Kali wends her way, destroying things as she goes. Maybe she's just clumsy. I don't know. Just leaving in her wake a sense of destruction, but of the promise of renewal, and the whole phoenix from the flame kind of energy as well. So really sort of diving into self-destruction to come out the other side in cleansing.
Yes, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And I know a lot of people went through the heartache of 9/11. I mean, it's just something that our nation has not really experienced. And, but the coming together afterwards was so beautiful. I don't know if we would have had that. And so many lives were lost for that. So many innocent lives were gone. But that's what happens in wars and all different types of incidences. It's very heartbreaking. And so the people, even though they might not even be relating to the, any one typical incident, they're still feeling this pain. There's something going on. They're digging deeper. And so, the way that the constellations help us to align with different emotions at different times, and this is that dark period. And so, just keep working through it. I encourage everyone. And you're going to see that, the Andronicus transmissions is, there's kind of a mix of a little bit of levity as well as, some serious, more, touching and even some strong, information as well. So, anyhow, JP, any thoughts before we go in and start? We have some new visitors today that came through, channeled through this week. Being by the name of Kraton, which I've mentioned Kraton before. He was an upper dimensional being who was shattered, and then he ended up becoming the military ruler or control behind all of the Titans. He took on all the contrast of the dark energy, and then was shattered, and then he found remnants of himself as he kind of, I can't say reincarnated, but kind of came in another form as a Titan, and then found his remnants of himself, this black stone that he had programmed with his energy for warfare, and then put in the backs of the necks of all the Titans, and so that they became this energetically connected team, where he would, instead of walkie-talkies, this is their communication device, and so that they would be, in a form of like a legion of some sort. So, he came through, as well as, I was very surprised to hear from, Rhodan's, one of Rhodan's son, Thor, which, people have asked me before, do you speak to Thor? And up until this time, no. And so finally he came through, had a message for everyone. And I believe that was brought on by the conversation between, that we had a discussion on your show, JP. Do you remember, the name on Ever Beyond? It was your show, and, Viking came on, Randy Graves came on and spoke with us regarding, a lifetime with the Vikings.
Well, yeah, the lifetime with the Vikings, and he said, "Oh, well, I remember you. We used to go out of the village. You used to live outside of the village, and we used to go to be counseled by you. And most of the time, you would be there, spending time talking to Odin. So really, nothing much changes, does it?"
No, it doesn't. And if a person wants to listen to that show, how do they find that in the archive?
That's, hang on, is it on, I don't know I haven't, it's called Healing the Vikings, and, it's on my Ever Beyond Radio archives, and it's probably also in the current archive page. Let me just check, and see if I've got that folder there, and I can tell you immediately if it's in the current folder. Yes, it's 2016 0410 EB Jessica Morocco Viking, in the earlier part of that day, we'd had quite an intense time, and it was really quite laid back compared with the intensity of the actual session that we did, the three of us, the journey that we took, which took us. And primarily took Viking back to heal this fragmented energy that he was experiencing, and we'll find out later. This was like just over a week ago, so we'll see what happened. Was it just on the
Viking may be joining us if he's able to speak at the end of the show.
A week ago, it was Sunday.
Yeah,
feels like a week ago.
I know, it feels like a million things have happened since then. And I've had some amazing feedback about that show in particular, so maybe we can put that on YouTube. I don't know if that's possible, JP, but the people that have listened to it, if you have an affinity towards the Viking cause, you will be very touched and moved. It was an amazing show. So, anyhow, so are we ready to go in?
Are we ready? So, now I've gotten a few sound effects, and if I can get all the buttons right, they should all come out right, and I've been balancing their sound and things like that. So, let's see. Now where are we? We're Rhodan, aren't we? And Rhodan.
No. We're going to Andronicus. 42.
Okay, so let's go to the standard Andronicus, standard orbit, Captain. There we go. Andronicus 42. Greetings. I am here to share with you our coordinates of Aldebaran. They are moving from their former location to another region in the galaxy. That is the reason why they have been hard to locate.
Borkum leaned in to see who Andronicus was talking to.
Primus! Is that you? What are you doing there in that cabin? Have they trapped you there? Come up here with us! Why are you talking to Suma? What does she know?
Borkum peered through the window of time and watched him sitting by the fire in his home.
Borkum, what are you doing? Don't try and pull him into our reality. He's following through with his experience on the planet. Why would he choose to be there instead of being with us? He can enjoy so much more with us. Primus, listen to me. You just need to tune into our channel. We can take you for a ride. Stop, Borkum. Leave him alone. It would be too much of a temptation for him to leave the planet now. He has a lot of hardship. We'll pick you up, Primus. Look, you remember the fun we had? Come up, view it from my perspective. Okay, stop, Borkum. I'm going to have to end this connection now because he's a little bit out of control. Goodbye for now, Andronicus. And I kept a straight face, but I tell you, that is effing hilarious. That is out effing rageous.
That was the funniest thing when that was happening. And I'm like, what is going on there? Borkum was completely, it was like the first time he had seen you. And, and then you said something like, didn't you say you just like recently were saying, you know, embracing the whole thing that I'm Primus?
Yeah. Yeah, all day. I was, just seeing how it felt, just like, all right, if I am, then let's see what happens. And, all sorts of, it was all sorts of magical fairy stuff that went on that day. It was all like, I was just, I don't have a car. And so I rely on buses, and it's a long way to walk back from the bus stop, especially if I've got shopping. So I went into town, did the bank stuff, and then I went to the supermarket, and I met a friend of mine who I work for. She's got the amazing roundhouse with every light bulb a website that I do some programming for her sometimes, and I bumped into her and said, "Oh, could you give me a lift home?" She said, "Yeah, sure," because she lives not far from here. So everything was completely in the flow. I got what I needed, and I got back perfectly in time. So that was a very interesting thing. And then later on, you showed me this, and I almost fell off my chair. It was
well, you were announcing who you were, and so that you created that vibration.
Uh-huh.
And then he could hear you, and he recognized you.
God.
I know. It's so surreal.
All right, so I've stuck my head
Because
up.
I could see him like peering through, like, "Hey, wait a minute, what's going on? Don't even talk to her. Just let me talk to him."
Put me on the phone. Put me on. Right. So, right. So I'm just finding the next piece. So yeah. So that was pretty hilarious, I have to say.
Yeah, it was.
We'll see. We'll see.
Oh.
So, shall we go to Kraton?
Okay, now Kraton's much more intense. So,
so maybe.
Do we have something that's like shattering or?
Well, hang on. I've got one of these.
Yeah. Yeah, that works actually.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. All right. Kraton 1.
I observed an enormous being whose height of his feet came up to my shoulders. Feeling minuscule and insignificant, I looked up and saw Kraton. There, Erskagil was as a parasite on his leg, and he crushed her as a bug next to him. For me, he lifted me up in his Gulliver-like hands, and his skin was green, not black.
What have you to say to me, and what words of persuasion could keep me from doing my deeds, small one? You are but a speck, however you resemble my kinship. I shall increase your size to view you more.
I don't think I have anything to say to you.
Why would they send you? Do you know why?
No, I don't have any idea.
Because that was the agreement. The elders must return to the fold. If you had not arrived, we would not be talking, we would be exploding. Now, tell me what you remember. With every memory I lift a layer of ether until the chalice is empty. Observe the sky. The white lightning of Odin does ring in my ears. Hang on, let's have some Odin.
I see you as the Black Knight, the keeper of the Black Knight of the Souls.
And so it shall be. My behold, I will remove my black armor before you in your presence. It was created to remind all living things that they are not far from my existence, that all will, at one time or another, forevermore, experience the pain I carried by taking on the black contrast of all living things.
A dull black metal armor fell off and dashed to the earth with a slam and shattered beneath into powder. The remnant lifted a black dust off of all humanity in the encapsulated energy field of the Orion's belt. I see you as a mighty Jinn.
Behold, I unveil myself of burning embers and strike them out as a whip across the magnetic field of Andromeda, thus removing the stronghold of humanity from their grip of reality, as it had been fused to insert trauma of both worlds. The violent thread will lay bare as a chin strap being pulled off the mighty towers of Babel and the vocal channels of the ancient. Go on, there must be 5 remembrances before I will free you for now.
I see you as Blackbeard, incarnate in the flesh for all men to see the length, breadth, and height of your wicked deeds. It was done to show the truth and the outcome of a dark path. Then Kraton turned to me with black coals for eyes and white skin like a dove, but black hair as a raven. His body and his face was in perfection, beautiful to look upon. In a moment he changed to a carnal man full of bitter rum and hard herbs of tea and opiate seeds. His pants striped downward and his hair grew long with ringlets of blackness. The headband held his hair from his eyes and his beard curled perfectly, as if styled. Beauty and cutting sorrow created the bitter mix of enticement. He lured me in the greedy, angry, envious, and vengeful. They traversed the waters, as if time didn't have an end or beginning. They could get from one part of the planet in one day, or travel 80 days, to land that is viewed as if only moments from the coast. Anomalies and lies and illusions, he sent them on trails to nowhere. The earth filled with fear, and he established the Jolly Roger of ill fate to those who dare tread upon their path. I then saw the boat collapse, and break into many pieces, while seeming to suspend in air in multiple directions, spinning unconfirmed of direction like the magnetic flow of an undecided compass. Withering heights of gravity, magnetism, force, like nothing that has ever been witnessed to the planet. I shuddered. This could have been us. Then the wood disappeared. His feet were now blue. I see you, poisoned by absinthe. The deep pocket of your pants drew out a hanging watch where it spinned in time, suspending the time around it. The earth stood still and took a jump back. You were Poe, Edgar Allan Poe, experiencing life like the human rebel, yet helpless. Why? Why did you do this? You tricked me and brought me in as your wife.
You're getting closer. Of course, I never died. I was searching for my enemy. You know and understand as I do that the enemy of each of one of us is on this planet now. I finally found him, yet he still doesn't know it. He is the same one who shattered me on the 5th dimension.
I heard the song by the Rolling Stones playing, Shattered, Shattered. Do I dare ask who did this? Can you release this pain and sorrow and deliver me from the life of sadness, betrayal, and heartache?
The poison was in the absinthe. He who gave me the absinthe was the one who killed me on the 5th dimension. The absinthe made me do strange things. I lost control and forgot who I was, who I should be, and where I lived. It poisoned my blood with effects of amnesia. I forgot that you were with me. I forgot that others couldn't see as I did. I forgot the power of my words. I forgot why I was there in the first place until it was too late. So I suspended time to figure it all out, and I shook the earth to the core in a way that it will never be the same. I also sent off the radar throughout the galaxy that reaches the lengths of 3 universes and brought forth the beasts of beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. I made them invisible so their eyes would not be pierced by such wickedness. These are your shadow men. Only I and you now can assist their exit from this plane. I give you the key to their kingdom.
Kraton reached deep into his black pants and gave me a strange black skeleton key that fit perfectly into my hand, and then it vanished. I continued to watch and wait for the 4th veil to be removed. And I then saw a black hat floating sideways, moving without sound and gently spinning. It appeared to be a mouth screaming from the opening of the hat as if lost. A lost soul was trapped and crying out for help. Instead it was Kraton screaming from his pain, and the silence ended with a roar that sounded off with the echoes of maddening, tormenting cries. Then it landed, and that part was over. We are approaching the last memory?
Yes. Choose well your destiny and for those around you.
Magic? An unknown magician hidden in the shadows but performing feats of wonder that others could not contrive or imagine. The author and founder and creator of the magician, the magical arts of wonder. I am struck because I cannot place a time on it. It is no name of remembrance. It is solitude and effort. A lone star of wonder. It was you who visited me in the magician's outfit, telling me to stop playing the cat and mouse games.
Yes, you have won my price, my dear. You forgot my white gloves and fancy shoes, my brilliant smile and my forever black hair. I frightened you that day. I dropped the cat and mouse upon you a certain way. It was real, but in a dimension you could not carriage to.
But why? Why did you frighten and torment me while I was in the house. I found a record, an old vinyl called Dance Macabre. That was from you, wasn't it?
Yes, I wanted you to remember me.
You released the magician's hat already.
Finish me.
It is the cape that stood out so completely different and moved and swung about like it was a superhero's cape, the cape of the Black Knight, like Batman, the anomaly in the sky. It has been seen as a paranormal event. It is the cape, your cape. We, my friend and I, both witnessed the cape in the house on separate occasions. Please tell me it is the cape.
Ha ha ha! You're undone. I've broken you down finally. Now you see my torment. As soon as I drop the cape, I leave the planet for others to support it. Have you put the pillars back up to where they should stand?
Yes, I've told Andronicus and Rhodan.
Ah, Rhodan. He will soon be getting a visit from me in Orion. We shall see how this all fares well. That is the reason why I moved you along. I don't want you there when the alarm sounds. They opened another doorway. Please stay out of it. It is a trap into an alternate space of Nazi rule. I see them luring you. I see them luring you to look. Don't go there. It is an illusion only and a false flag of existence. They are just seeking to get out of the prison. This goes for all who heed my warnings. The fortresses are being released and the cape is lifted from my chest. My mask is now removed. I am no longer anonymous, but revived to my kingship once again and returned to the 5th dimension.
Then I witnessed the cape float off from Kraton in a white mask, like the drama face of a hidden emotion. The white mask created a long white strip of reality as it unfolded like a box in the ethers and supported a new dimension of white space. Clear, pure energy, while the black cape lifted out 5 dimensions of darkness that were almost inserted into our present reality. The altar had been erased. We begin with a new place of clarity and an energy to access the support of our ascension. Great talking.
That wasn't the one. What was it?
Fascinating.
That was the one. We'll get used to it.
Yeah, talk about intense. I mean.
So Edgar Allan Poe, eh?
Yes.
Holy
That's
Poe.
why he's lying to me. I couldn't figure it out. And you know, I told you about that story. I mean, that really happened. I was asleep and, you know, was kind of trapped in sleep. And I felt like there was a magician in the room and he dropped a mouse on me and then dropped a cat on me and he said, stop playing these cat and mouse games with me. And I woke up, I was so like shaken by it. I started looking under the bed. I started looking around the room like, oh my God, there's a cat. Where did the cat and the mouse come from? It was, and they weren't there obviously. You know, it was just seeing this like weird cape thing flying through, you know, me and another person saw it in the house. It was just strange. So, and I actually looked up online and, the cape or they call it the Black Knight and you can see it. It's like an anomaly, a UFO or some unexplained looking object.
Yeah, it's a bunch of apparently there's, a couple of them. There's Planetary Guardians. They're automated, Planetary Guardians. Everything shows up. They show up mysteriously out of the darkness. So they perhaps are able to teleport. But they were doing when they first discovered them, I think in the 50s, they were doing a really weird orbit. They were doing an orbit no satellite could do. You know, they're going like up, round the Earth, the wrong way, up and down, you know, against all the fields, against all things.
Yeah,
and,
just to prove that there was something else.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was the one that brought over from the other universes, the shadow people, the shadow men. And he said he cloaked them as a shadow so that, people would not, they'd be too horrified to see what they look like. And then he gave me this key or whatever. Not that I asked for it, but I mean,
people give you all sorts of things, don't they?
I'm like, now what do I do with this?
First there was the box. There's the box. Then maybe the key. Hey, does the key fit the box?
Gave me the box so that I had to give it to Max.
Yeah.
And, it was, you know, part of historical records of things, but I was energetically carrying it. And of course, you know, the Vinkala or the reptilians were following me because of that. So that was weird too. Anyhow.
So
now we hear Rhodan's response.
Rhodan's response to, it's like someone's letter to the Corinthians or something like that.
Yeah.
Alright, so, Rhodan's response. What was Rhodan? Rhodan had he was Odin, so we had, number 5. I've opened up the council again because in light of the changes, things must be adjusted. What is going on? Is that Borkum trying to break through the barriers? Can someone get him under control? What has gotten into him? You'd think he was a human by the way he's acting so irrational. Give me the controls.
Borkum, stop meddling with the interceptor. Release the human from your target right now. You are out of control.
Look, can somebody sedate him, please? This is deplorable. How many times must I speak with that foolish rebel? Come now, Borkum. You know the rules. Leave him alone.
Oh, that's Primus. What's he doing down there?
You said he was on Sector 381 doing Category 6 training from the regiments. I knew he wasn't there. The guards were not aligned just so. Okay, I'll back off then. Can somebody tell me what's going on? You were gone for too long. I told you Primus has work to do and you're going to create a ripple. Now, settle down and stop trying to cut through the receptor. I'll explain to you soon how you can find a better process of communicating with Primus. For now, will you take an inventory of the western vista of Saturn? It is burning uncontrollably, and I want to make sure nothing is happening to our vessels. Yes, sir. I'll be right on it. How did he know I was trying to get through the receptor? Did you let him know?
Andronicus shook his head to say no.
He can see what you're doing. We can all see what you're doing. Back away from the controls, Borkum, and set up the coordinates to enter the Stargate 9 of Sector Saturn's western ridge. Be safe. This is a dangerous mission. Gather a few of your regime to join you. Yes, sir. Right on it. Sorry, Primus, you're going to have to wait.
Rhodan disconnected the communication with Borkum and Andronicus.
Let's get back to the matters at hand. It appears that we have a major breach of information that's been leaking into outer stratosphere for many light years. At this moment, 10 of our members are being taken to questioning. They will return if their clearance has checked out. This means that half of our members have been in alliance with questionable rogue factions. None of this should be tolerated despite the long relationships we have experienced with them. Enough material has been laid before me, and many reports of incidences are now available for public review. Just to make matters worse, Kraton has left Turkey and is changing his role in the galaxy, challenging my authority and breaking his vow to hold the contrast. Kraton is also rebelling because he has lost a lot of power on the planet due to Kraton's release of black energy off the planet. Can somebody tell me what is going on? You there. Suma! What have you been up to?
I'm just observing.
Tell me what you're doing and it will all be okay. Did you speak to Kraton today?
I did. I had to. He kept asking me questions. Did I do something wrong?
Why didn't you consult me first? Do you realize what just happened? We're not in control of what is happening. It is undetermined in the outcome of events. Hear me, child. You don't know what you're doing, and sometimes the powers are sneaking through to gather information from you. Now, tell me what happened with Kraton.
He said I needed to tell him who he was in the past. He showed up so large and intimidating.
This is unexpected. I didn't believe he would do something like this. He gave you the keys, yeah?
Yes. To get rid of the Shadow Men?
I think the keys do a lot more than that, young lady. We will reconvene soon.
The council disassembled and left the circular meeting room while he continued to speak with me.
Hand over the key to me. You don't know how to use them properly.
Here. Then the keys dropped down a deep hole or portal. Rhodan shook his head in disbelief.
Don't worry, we'll get them for you. It's fine. Let's all calm down. I have commissioned to do new work and allowed the Algarthans to help you. It will be fine going forward. Let's get the transducers up and running. We have a new objective to retrieve the dark matter released through the spheres. Prepare the extraction elements and observatory issues. Lock down sentient warriors until the elements have been removed. We don't want them tainted.
Rhodan's voice faded off, and they were moving into the next direction, or the new direction related to the releasement of dark matter.
So that was a kind of Star Wars-like council thing? Meeting?
Yes, it was a meet at the Ryan Council.
Wow. So, that must have been pretty intense, actually. Now, so what was he saying to you? So that Kraton coming through and talking to you was some breach of protocol
Yes.
that you didn't know about? Another rule that you broke because you didn't know what it was. How can you do this thing? There's no book.
Like, what am I supposed to, essentially, what am I supposed to do? And it was like, and then he gave me the key on top of it, which Rhodan insisted that I give back to him, which I was fine. Here, you take it. And then it dropped. Of course, I went to hand it to him and it just dropped into that deep, hole.
Probably just as
well. It
well.
starts off with, him, having to reprimand Borkum. So Borkum's going crazy.
There's a lot of it about.
And, I don't know.
The Interceptor. The Interceptor. Yeah. What, he says, stop meddling with the Interceptor. Yeah, very interesting. Can I have one?
It almost looked like.
Is there an
kind
app?
of a glass shield, but it's not glass, and it's like a barrier probably between dimensions that was preventing him from communicating with you properly.
Uh-huh. It's like a sort of firewall.
Yeah. What's going on? He stops midway in his dissertation between the council. And then he gets on me.
Yeah, and bloody hell.
Yeah. Yep, so, when they do stuff, they're kind of, nobody wants to deal directly with Rhodan. They kind of want to do their own thing, and it's a form of rebellion. They're not happy or whatever, and, and they'll probably have it out, but, kind of pulling me into it. Cause they know that, he knows that, Rhodan's not going to come after me, but wanted to kind of, just like anything, they all want attention, they want to be heard, and they want people to know what's going on.
Attention horse.
Huh?
They're just a bunch of Andromedan attention whores.
Yeah.
Oh dear. So look.
And Rhodan's like, I'm just trying to run a business here, you know.
That's right.
I'm
Yes.
trying to run the universe.
Can't get the bloody staff these days.
Yeah. What's he doing?
And that is,
What's he doing?
this is the hilarious part of it, as you say, you know, the hilarity is like, there's nothing different from these guys as to us. You know, it's just the same. You know, people are lazy. People think they know it all, and they don't, and get into trouble, and just like us. And, they call it hubris. No wonder we have it.
And here's Kraton saying, you know, listen, I've been carrying this contrast for years.
Yeah, I'm tired of being the devil.
I'm tired of tired of being the devil.
Yeah. That would be an interesting blues. I'd like to be bad to you, but I'm tired of being the devil. Have some gold, baby.
And in essence, that's what he's saying. I've had enough. I don't want to be here anymore. And what was he doing in Turkey, right? I've been seeing him in Turkey for years. I'm like, well, what is he doing over there? And when we first started the transmissions, I saw him right away. Never said a word to me. It's not until now that he finally had enough, but he made sure that those pillars were up, and Andronicus was one of them. Remember we had the pillars?
Yeah, tell us more about the pillars.
There's almost like it holds the dimensions and things in place. And so that they, you know, step into their role. It was like everyone just went AWOL. And so they had others stepping in for them, and that's why things were like a little weird. And wrong people were coming into power, and, you know, all these different things kind of trickled down. Because they knew how things were supposed to be, but others kind of wanted to be in power. So they forfeited their power, and then they went off and played. And then, you know, not so much that everything really got destroyed, but enough that people realized that, hey, it's really not that much fun to be in power. You carry a heavy burden.
Yeah, the burden is too heavy for anyone, even a god or even a titan. And
right.
So that's why it's good to have, you know, but the thing, all right, so that's why it's good to have equal councils rather than hierarchies. Because being in a hierarchy is very tiring, you know, because you have to be controlling to keep it all going. So the best thing is to have a kind of circle kind of thing. Where the day-to-day decisions are delegated to smaller groups. Say you had a dozen people, you have 4 groups of 3 doing the different functions, something like that.
Well, then Rhodan also is mentioning that, you know, half the group is an alliance with questionable rogue factions.
That's right. You know, so they've been bought out. I mean, very much like your government, or my government even. All governments. They've all been bought and, you know, blackmailed and compromised. So and this is going to happen. This is what's happening on Earth as well. That there are corrupt politicians who are going to have to be replaced by not corrupt politicians. Or maybe administrators rather than dictators. You know, people who make sure that the roads are clean and tidy and whole, rather than, you know, whether some group should be doing something or other. You know, just administering, governing.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. There's all these different things going on. And, but we are a reflection. As it is above, so it is below.
So it is.
We're a reflection of these experiences. Now, I would have never written it this way if I was writing a story. And, you know, all of this information just flows in like nothing, you know, maybe a couple hours and I have it all written. I mean, it's absolutely amazing the information that's coming through. And, for me, it's opening up my awareness of what is actually going on and sort of explaining it. And I think the one piece that I was missing today was the, Kali Yuga which kind of sort of just came my way before the show, and I think it all fits in together, that, there's this shaking up a bit regarding the darker side of us, and then Kraton coming forward and saying he doesn't want to carry it anymore. So what he did within those different expressions of his existence was carrying this type of darkness, and within each one of those experiences was an aspect of it that he released. And when he released those 5, it didn't affect our world anymore. He took it and sent it elsewhere. And so Rhodan then had to kind of encapsulate it somehow and get it under control. But it was almost like he was prepared for it. But those were intended to affect us, and the challenge was that I had to name 5 incidences where I recognized him.
Right, but there only seemed to be one that you talked about. Were there others that you did telepathically, like really quickly?
No, the life, he was Poe, he was the Blackbeard, he was a magician, some of the others.
All right.
I mean, he was obviously this giant. Hold on. And
right.
It's funny because even just reading through it it leaves my memory that quickly.
Okay.
It's almost like there's this like natural wipe on me that I get.
Well, it's all about frequency and
channeling
vibration.
Information through, and then it's gone. Oh, he was a djinn.
Yeah, that's right. So you saw him as a djinn.
And a black knight.
Uh-huh. There you go. And there's this very striking contrast in his complexion, he was saying.
Yeah.
Like
skin.
Very black hair and very white skin, which is almost vampire-like. It's like Twilight sort of.
Yeah. When he was Blackbeard, that's what he looked like. And he was extremely handsome, extremely like in an enticing way, like male, female would both find him attractive and alluring. And he took them for rides. And he said in 80 days, you could travel across the planet in one day, but it may take you 80 days to get to the shore. He played mind games. It was this like really weird illusion. And, I don't know if he was the Blackbeard or not, but he was definitely a pirate with the black hair and so forth.
Well,
It's funny because Max said to me, he goes, I see a pirate around you. And I'm like, oh God. I hope Max is listening.
Yeah. Oh, I think he might have tuned out by now. I don't know. Max, are you online? So, there's a ship's bell there.
Yeah, there's a ship's bell. Well, yeah, that was, and then the other one, the Absinthe, he kind of was in and out of being Poe, almost like he got it, the drug itself really affected him to the point where he forgot who he was. And then also, forgot about his power. So, as opposed to when he was Blackbeard, he knew and everything was pre-planned. Apparently the rum didn't affect him, the spiced rum or whatever he was drinking. But when he got to the Absinthe, it had a strange effect on him. And I don't know if it's because he allowed himself to become very human, but he was in and out of illusion, and so a lot of weird things were happening at that point.
Well, it's why absinthe is banned.
Yes, it's like a poison.
It's really like eating pufferfish or one of those things, or the sure poison that basically takes you really close to death. Oh, ayahuasca is basically you induce a near-death experience by poisoning yourself almost to death, and then you take the antidote. It's that's why you shouldn't do it alone.
Yeah.
Because you might get the timing wrong. Oh no, wrong glass. Take this now.
Yeah. Someone says, you should do some ayahuasca. I said, no, and I think I got enough problems. No, thank you. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
the Black Knight too, he starts off as the Black Knight and the armor just falls off of him and collapses and shatters in tiny pieces.
I have,
and it becomes like a black dust on humanity. That's the way it was. Sorry.
Black Dust. Oh, right. So, you're talking about Dance Macabre. So, I've got something on YouTube called Camille Saint-Cyr, Dance Macabre, which, is 8 minutes long, but I'll probably fade out after a few minutes,
Okay.
Just it's time for a break. And so, here's Dance Macabre. We're back.
Okay. So, I was just wondering, well, my book, Macabre, Short Stories and Poems from the Other Side, I ended up doing an ode to Edgar Allan Poe in the end. And I'm just laughing. I'm saying, wow, so I was married to him, so what does that make me? But, I mean...
Mrs. Poe?
Yeah, I was married to Poe. I was Virginia, his wife Virginia. Mm-hmm. And that's how he first came through and told me. I was writing all this stuff down, and he said that, I asked what should I call the book? And they said Macabre, Short Stories and Poems from the Other Side. And I said, really? I said, well, that's kind of a outdated term, macabre. Most people might not get it. And then I realized, that, all right, so, and then I saw his face, and he was seated at a desk, and like a wooden desk, and behind him was a bookshelf with all these books. And I thought, isn't that strange? And he goes, there you are. He goes, you can see me finally. And I said, yeah. I said, you want me to write this book and dedicate it to you? And he said, yeah. So I did. And a couple of years later, someone told me about that Edgar Allan Poe's spirit had been seen by Brown University in Rhode Island by a library that they have called the Athenaeum or Athenaeum. And so I went, this Aten, right? Aten?
Yeah, exactly. I did.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Go.
Okay. So I go there, expecting to communicate with him, and I walk in and I'm looking around, and there's like this upper loft area. And so I go upstairs. I turn to my right, and there, they have these little areas where people could sit down and look, review and look at their computers and write or do whatever they want to do. And there was a desk there, wooden desk. And it had, a chair. And so I'm standing there looking at it, and I turned around, and there's the bookshelf. I was like, oh my God. And I sat down in the chair. I said, he was sitting here when he talked to me.
All right. So that was exactly the place, and it was in the same house. Or was it a special museum that had taken the stuff out of his house?
No, it wasn't any of his stuff. It was years ago. Prior to that time, he, when I was married to him as Virginia, I died, and then he had other relationships, and one of them was a woman who was a spiritualist that lived in that town.
Right.
And the library was in existence at that time, and they used to go there together. And there's actually a picture of him in the back of the library with her, which of course, I was like, all right, then you're here with her. And so, we just kind of talked a little bit, but I sat down and I realized that he communicated with me about my book Macabre from that library. And as I sat down, and I was just like a little overwhelmed, I looked to my right, and there were all these books, and a bunch of them, I found about 7 books with my name on it. Well, my last name's Morocco, but it was spelled like the country, right? I'm like, why would they have so many books by the name of Morocco right here? And then there was one book that almost spelled my name perfectly. It was M-A-R-O-C-C-O, which is my true spelling of my name is M-A-R-R-O-C-C-O. And a friend of mine pointed that out, and I was like, all right, there it is. He anticipated that I would find that he was there.
It's all about the phonemes. It's all about the sound.
Yeah.
So, It may be
Anyhow.
written something different, but it's the same thing. Same quality of value. So that's fascinating. Have I got a fascinating? Can I have a fascinating?
Fascinating.
Yeah, I can have a fascinating. Yeah. So,
Never know when these things going to take you, you know. But anyhow, we can now move on to the other one that I spoke to, which is Thor.
so Thor. Hang on. Just my little palette of effects. Well, I've got. Well, I could. Thor could be this. How about a sort of metallic sword sound with the thunder? So, yeah. Thor 1. Jessica?
I was surprised to find you. After speaking with Rhodan so long, I believe that we didn't have any contact, nor was it necessary to have contact with you. I'm curious. Are we connected because of the lifetime we opened up as Vikings?
Yes, I could hear the hearts of my men crying out to me, searching for my leadership. This is a noble tribe of humans who came from our race. We are kindred naturally. We can travel far and wide and still hear our voices. The black stone of Kraton is forever embedded on the backs of our necks. You and Primus are helping to clear the black stone energy, along with many others who desire to make a difference. Send peace and harmony to the commands.
Tell me about Kraton. We seem to be missing information about him.
He is a dark, brooding beast now. It is dangerous for any of us to approach him, much worse than Kronos was. When he was attacked long ago, he couldn't find who hit him, who shattered him on the 5th dimension. He was grand and most potent of our ancestors, a pillar of strength and glory. He chose the contrast of pillars, and it consumed him until he was all black. Pure black, like obsidian. He was beautiful to gaze upon and severely contrasted the pure white all around him.
Why did he take on the contrast? The energy of night or darkness. Was this his role?
We were told that the black energy was amassing, building walls of resistance, creating strange matter and opening up the cosmos of magnetic contrast, resulting in your black holes. It was damaging our world and inverting our stars until one of our suns turned black. We were in desperate need of help and had no other place to turn.
What was this black matter?
The ancient ones told us that if our acts and deeds were bad, we would destroy our world. The Earth is only one planet. This is your world. The cosmos are our world. The black goo is the Earth releasing the darkness of humanity and magnifying and overtaking it. This is the reason why so much is happening.
I saw Kraton. He's not happy at all. Sometimes he calls me forth. Will he harm me or others?
He will harm others. Don't send anyone to him. The Amerthas thought you intended on hurting one of their friends over this. You alone must speak to him. He will not and cannot harm you. You carry both densities in your field. It is your original state. He will recognize it immediately and resist the action of aggression. We want you to speak with him and find a way to get him to be at peace. He is appearing on our signals in various locations on the planet now. Typically, he was in one location, and now he is bilocating, trilocating, and so on. He has many sons and daughters, not technically, but those who obey him. You have dealt with many of them already. As you may have noticed, it doesn't get you anywhere. You must calm him down directly. That will require a sequence of interactions. He will let you know when to approach. It is in effect similar to detonating the bomb. Keep clear of additional questions. It will only get murky from there. Hold on to your sensible tactics. This is your journey ahead, not to worry. I have enclosed him with a toroidal field to prevent peripheral damage, perchance he lash out to anyone else in the process. I am the prime candidate of his contention. He sees me as a threat and next heir to the throne. I will be nearby as well as many others to help keep this contained. Since he is in the upper levels, it will not directly affect humanity. If it is left unattended, he will explode.
What do you mean by explode? In many fragments?
Yes, the upper dimensions will be overtaken by the darkness as the inner earth is. This system was created to help us grow, and instead we had not heeded the example and allowed chaos in our field. Since we are the guardians of humanity, we also introduced it to them as well.
Is this the reason why you call yourself Amadon? It sounds like Armageddon.
The missing piece, my love, is the AG that stands for Agatha. We have been holding fast in the hollow earth to keep the planet from inversion into the contrast. Now that the upper levels are severely at risk, we are asking you and our children to awaken to help Kraton properly release the contrast in the right way without severely affecting the fifth dimension. As I mentioned before, he is a madman of heightened rage.
And you want me to talk to him? I'm supposed to take down the Jabberwocky? This is crazy. Are you sure he'll listen to me?
Yes. Just tell him you love him. That you love all living things. He will remember that. You are not there to be in battle with him. It is not a Jabberwocky scenario. It is a heart-to-heart conversation. Allow it to unfold in ways you never understood.
Tell me about what you have been doing.
I have been deep in Agatha, aligning my people with their roles. We are a pure people, and still quite powerful. Asgard is our city in the upper levels. We travel back and forth. You had made such a connection this week that you have all of our attention. We had sent Jonas and Uric to help you, to visit you. Both were successful in the transmission. Jonas came from the mid-gate of Shasta, Uric from the northern gate of the North Pole, and I have arrived from the southern gate of Antarctica. I showed you a reality of being together in early Sweden. We were mated well and agreeable on all terms and occasions. And I can only mate with my own kind.
I remember. We were together in a snowy vista. The landscape was brisk and clean, and people lived in an open community, not too tightly knitted but connected. The strange grass or hay houses with sod seemed to keep us all warm. I saw a campfire where our neighbors gathered to sing, share, and celebrate. We ate deer that seemed to be dehydrated like beef jerky. There was a lot of love and harmony. I didn't see or hear any drama. Everyone was in a good place. I long for that type of harmony and community again.
It will be known to you as it unfolds. Do you remember the other lifetime that I showed you? How we lived as an Inuit family on the tundra of Russia.
Yes, I saw that we were together.
This is where my people and the indigenous fused together. It was a very long ago, and you understood the agreement. We are their white brothers and sisters, and so forth. It was the blending of our people of contrasts. Some have the blackness of Kraton. Some have the whiteness of Kronos. You were always in the middle, bridging the gaps. The last story is for you to unfold and understand. It is the last incarnation I chose to experience as a human on the planet. I was Leif Erikson. Not everything is mentioned in history. I have kept much of it private. During that lifetime, all the soldiers were aligned as a son. I cared for each and every one. All the women were as my daughters. No one was ever left behind. We never lost one except for natural transitions of death. Only a few rebelled me, having the blood of Kraton flowing through their veins. It was all contained. The last transition was with the Elven, the Ancients. I had to integrate all aspects of the planet in levels of dimensions. You know the story, and wrote about it in your book for those who wanted to remember.
As I recall, Pan tricked all of you and held you captive for years.
Yes, it was Zamfir who tricked us. He liked to remind us that this is not our planet. It is still owned and run by the Vegas. We have proper use of the planet, but he kept us from wandering off and blending with the wrong species. He never harmed us aside from creating a separation. You are complete with your history for now. Seek me out with others to unfold the last decrees. Connect with Kraton. Bring him to a place of peace. And we are sending healing to Max. Tell Randy thank you for holding strong the gateway. He was never forgotten. The bridge remains open because of his devotion and commitment. All of you can be grateful for his sacrifice. Primus. The sword fight. Primus, you must remember the sword fight when we gallantly fought off the mighty slayers of the North Node. It was the intruders from far off. They no longer come to Asgard to harm us. We have been told that they are trying to re-enter your reality. Keep your etheric sword ready when they break through. We shall ward them off from the earthly Agarthan temples where our history is hidden. Keep your eyes ready and conscious. Their tails are sharp and cut deep to the bone. This is how Odin scarred the veil of his eyes. What a triumphant win. No one thought we could gain such victorious advantage with so few. Max and Randy were there too. I'm sending a breath of life force to all of you. Stay strong in journey, my friends.
I watched as Thor took his sword and plunged it into the earth as if to claim his land. Watched and observed to see who would challenge him. A mighty steed of Valkyries came up from behind him. The sun came in brightly from the east, and then the vision ended.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thor. Right, okay. So Zamfir is Pan.
Yes. Or he came on as, that was one of his roles.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Guessing their character. Still haven't managed to get his character, you know. But anyway, oh, there you go, hello. So yeah, he was, I tried to give him a bit of Norwegian. He came out a little bit Welsh, I'm afraid, but, you know, I'll try and get me a bit. And how weird, because he says obsidian, black as obsidian. I have here, and I showed it to you the other day, didn't I? I showed you, I bought this ball from eBay of a black obsidian sphere.
Mm.
Black
So
as
that was the color of Kraton.
Ah. It's like black glass.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, Thor, what do you think?
He was light. He was not, there was no heaviness about him. He was almost like he was honorable. He had purpose. He was preventing us from inverting, which like the, black holes or, because even though, we're a solid planet, so to seem, there's aspects that can invert and create alternate, realities. And these alternate realities could seep into our experience or overtake our experience and, bring in, another kind of, darkness that we would not need to be exposed to. And And it sounds like the Agarthans have held that space. Now, I wasn't aware of that until he said that. And I didn't know what the effect was. It's almost like the darkness swallows itself up. The light is what prevents it from swallowing, being consumed. It keeps a separation. So it requires that we have both of the contrasts in existence. I'm not sure what the absence of darkness would be. Maybe it has another type of enfoldment. But it seems that they both hold each other in place, if properly balanced.
Balance is the key.
Yeah, balance. So. And you see that in the yin and yang,
yeah.
Right? Yin and yang, however people pronounce it. The other thing was the Armageddon, Rhodan. He came to me, someone said something about Armageddon, and then I said Armageddon. And the missing piece was the AG and Agartha blending with the word. Everything's about the fifth dimension here. It's nothing about the fourth dimension. It skips. And then he talked to me about, the impact that he'd had on the planet and the different civilizations, whether it was the Inuit and the connection from these ancient people with the native people kind of blending and experiencing harmonious communities on the planet. And in the end, of course, he makes a comment about sending healing and communicating with Randy and Max, so he's acknowledging both of them and you. Reminding you of a sword fight that you once had, and he said that those energies are still trying to come through into your reality, which might be a little bit of an influence from of chaos or something, or revenge. He said, keep your etheric sword ready. When they break through, we shall ward them off from the earthly Agarthan temples, where our history is hidden. Keep your eyes ready and conscious. And something about their tails are sharp and cut deep to the bone. I could not see what they look like. But
Interesting.
Had scarred Odin's eyes, the veil of his eyes. So I'm not sure if that's the original loss of eye, but that's what he said.
So are they some sort of reptilian dragon tail-like creature thing?
Sounds like it, yeah.
Some kind of mean E.T. kind of creature. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. So, that's the the thing that, for me, I'm saying, why I keep pressing, how do you feel about this? Is the whole thing about, go and be nice to Kraton.
Yeah, I know.
Or he's going to
sending me there.
Or he's going to explode. No pressure. Just tell him that you love him. He'll like that. They don't really get the kind of politics thing, do they? Maybe this is.
I think what they're saying is that, and the feeling that I was getting from Kraton is that he's been carrying the contrast this whole time and absorbing it, and it just keeps amassing, and he's taking more and more in. And he's, essentially saying, he's not recognized. They're not taking him serious, and he just wanted to be heard. He wanted credit for what he had been doing. So even though, we perceive him as a devil, in essence, he probably preventing us from being destroyed, absorbing this energy. Not to mention assisting what Rhodan has done and all the others. And so here's Rhodan trying to keep everyone to behave, and Thor is in the inner earth trying to do the same thing and try to keep everyone to, not dig into this really dark energy and not make any more. That is, creating more. And so the ancients created this system. that, if things are out of balance, it will manifest and we'll begin to lose different things here and there. And, so it's not like there's a God overseeing us and, condemning us, but it's sort of like, a check and balance. So, I don't know. Yeah, that's what I got from it.
So, shall we do Metis next?
Yeah, we can do Metis next. And, I was just gonna send it over. I know you tried to open up this YouTube, the Dance Macabre. So, I'm just gonna send that over to you again, see if you can.
Oh, well, no, I've got it.
Then.
I got it off the email. So, like,
Okay.
the final Metis, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, good. So, Metis. And so you got that also. That was a document I had to send to you separately.
Yeah, so there's been a kind of blockage in the transmission of that. So I wonder what that's about.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? I mean, is there a particular message in this one that is like controversial?
Yes. Yeah, you'll see why. What we're talking about.
Okay, right. Well, let's hit the Metis. What's your Metis? I mean, yeah. Well, anyway, I know.
He'll forever be our troubadour.
Yeah. So yeah, there we go. Let's get some applause. He'd like that. Thank you. Metis 15. You did it, my love. You finally found the Vinkala who had betrayed all of us. They fell from the rafters before you. I knew you would find them. If there ever was a seer who could find the most hidden of creatures, I knew you could root them out like no other. I celebrate this day with you. The end of our turmoil is near. We haven't anything to worry about going forward, you see. It was the secrets they held. It was the mysteries of old that they were playing with. They played with the destinies of us as well as mankind and many other starseeds alike. It meant nothing to them. Nothing at all. Their minds were so base and lowly that they hardly knew the difference between pure gold and rusty metal. Their knowledge of value, the soul's journey and the like, were destroyed in their hardened minds that had the density of a stone. Emotionless, they travelled through time with reckless abandon for no other reason but to destroy. I don't even think they can recall why or the possible reason for this meaningless trail of death. It is as if they awakened with amnesia, barely remembering their own name. Yet they carried the keys to life. It was their access to the most sacred mysteries of the universe. Do you remember? You were once a keeper of these keys. You guarded the gates so well. I was never as honourable as you, but I do remember your diligence much as today. Now you are a flower, no longer the soldier. You had more power in one vision than all the might of many trained and disciplined soldiers. I shall celebrate you today, my fair one. A hard drink and tear in my ale, my love. It would be so wonderful if you could taste the bittersweet victory of seeing the task done without restraint. So simple and flowing you look, and the fallen victims lay heavy on the floor, so many dimensions away. How I wonder. How do you do such a task? Surely the gods do shine upon you. Surely the gods do shine upon you. Perhaps when you awake at night they kiss your forehead as you peer through your window admiring the moonlight. Perhaps the angels do thread a sacred string between each breath to capture the very essence of your sunlight, to give to all children a bit of protection in their dreams or day waking. Tell me, fair one, is there hope for us now? If only I were there to celebrate the end of this all. Draconis no longer breathes among us, and his soul does wander in the ethers deceive. I don't know how long this can be. None of this seems to make sense. I imagine he was birthed of bitterness and anger, and when the anger subsided, he melted like a candle in the sun. Oh, I am overwhelmed with joy and overflowing benevolence. See the blush of my skin and the glaze of my watery eyes. It is truly a time to ring the bells between the ballasts, to sing sweet tones of angels' melodies. I'm lost with words, yet my heart hums a melody like a songbird in morning while savouring the dew. It is wondrous. The shroud is yet fallen and we sorrow not, for we see the Saviour yet awakened. It is a resurrection to all of us. It is over. None can challenge our hope again. I sit on the Basque cathedrals celebrating the end of the Spanish Inquisition. Their wickedness poured out. What a horrible moment for humanity. The sword of religion used to cut off the hands of truth. The beasts pounce upon the innocent like a bloody viper. It is over now. I cut them down, my love. We, the least likely to survive, stayed the course to the end. I now reign victorious. A melody for today. Justice reigns. Remove all pains. Takes our lives from religious blames. Search the heart. It is a good place to start. To love all without malice. Until our time to depart. Peace, peace, forgiveness and more. It will help you to open the chamber door. You will fly to hope. Harmony in store. Peace, peace, and forgiveness more. Oops. Always one to break a moment of peace with a little bit of comedy. Wrong button. I meant to do the whole harpy thing.
There we go. Okay.
Oh, hang on.
So it's 3:33 p.m. 3 o'clock, 3:30.
So that was a very kind of what who's the play, not the musical comment, what is it? No, something and something. Anyway, like the Send in the Clowns or something, a tune from a musical, something, that sort of vibe of it. It had poignance. It was like, like a moment of post-chaos. Yeah. So there was Mises. Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you think it's the reptilians that created some interruption that I had earlier? That didn't want me to send this message over?
Well, maybe.
Vincala?
Yeah, old Vincala. But, basically this is, well, I mean, like, again, they use you as bait. Congratulations, you found the Vincala. Very well done. Yeah. But, I think this is like, maybe is this the last time? Yeah, this is the last time. I think now you can say, look, okay, can we stop this now? Can we, is this over?
Well, I think,
I
I have committed
off your
to
cape.
doing certain things. I don't have to go into war like they had to do. I can just sit back and talk. That's fine for me. I can talk. As long as I don't get all the peripheral stuff meanwhile, and I'm okay with that. The other thing that, here I am listening to him talk, and I'm wondering, he's sort of somewhat sober, like sobering not necessarily of not drinking alcohol, but emotionally
that's
sober.
Unlikely, but he's
unlike it. But he's sitting on the top, like probably by the gargoyles, looking down on this cathedral where the Inquisition took place, in he called it Basque, somewhere in Spain. I felt a little nauseous just thinking about it. Thinking about all the people. I think he said he stopped it. And, kind of hung in there to the end. Didn't want to leave that whole time period. I think he knew this was going to happen. And it was heading in this direction. And so it looks like he couldn't prevent it from happening, but he was able to figure out a way to stop it or end it. I mean, who really knows? Maybe it would have continued on.
Well, I mean, it sounds like another expression of this same Reich energy that has marched. As Jack Booted
you're feeling that too.
energy.
I'm feeling it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that as well.
No, very interesting Basque, because that's they say that the Basque region has the language that is very unique. And they say it's like almost like the oldest human language, or it's like it doesn't have roots in the same languages as all the other Earth languages, basically. It comes from somewhere else. And,
very interesting.
Yeah. I visited that's where Lourdes is in the south of France. It's in the Basque region, which is like it's basically the mountains between France and Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And, very interesting. It's probably some Merovingians and all that lot, Cathars who have sort of blended with that lot too, I imagine.
And all the innocent blood.
Yeah.
And we talk about different time periods where people just killed brutally for no reason. That's one of them.
Yep.
So he was quite serious, sobering. You can see he was melancholy. Had seen probably more than he'd wanted to see. And he talks about there was a tear in his ale. What happened was I literally saw these Vincala, and they were kind of in like this kind of fortress, and they fell. I watched them fall from the rafters. Now I'm not really sure how that happened, but that's what he was talking about. I watched them, and they collapsed, and Draconis was one of them. So, and that's what he's saying. I don't know how you did it, so many dimensions away. And I said, I don't know either, but it happened, he's saying. So that part is done. And, I don't know. I don't know what else we can say about it. Just not the typical Metis. I like him a little bit more lighter, but maybe there's a reason why this information had to come through.
A little more entertaining than he has.
Intense, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's been an intense week, though. Things have been intense. There's been, people are showing, demonstrating their existence. They're really shining out who they are for whichever direction it's taking.
Or kind of working it through, like the dark soul of the night.
Yeah.
It's something to really think about. And we're running out of time, and I wanted to see if we can bring Randy in.
Sure. Is he ready?
Yeah, we can have Randy call in.
Yeah.
Whenever you're ready, Randy, and join us.
There we go. So, he's probably going to have to switch off his radio. Switch off your radio, but you won't hear it in time. But anyway.
Okay, yeah.
So, good afternoon, Randy. How are you?
Good. I'm sorry. I've got to turn this, I got to turn this off here.
That's okay. So while Randy's,
There, got it.
there you go. Good afternoon. How are you?
Oh my goddess. Oh my God. I'm just completely reeling here.
What's it triggered for you?
Oh, the entire transmission. I mean, I was listening to it and all of a sudden I started getting this. I've got 2 envelopes on both sides. I didn't have any paper or pen. I just kind of filled up envelopes with notes, and this is going to take an entire show to digest. I mean,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
this is so much information. I mean, I started getting layers and layers of just what's going on here. I mean, for example, Midas, what he did is he basically portrayed our entire Sunday show. If you really listen to what he was saying, word for word, I mean, level by level, he just went through our entire process. It was just so phenomenal. I mean, I was in tears the whole time during that song. It was so powerful because he's talking about all this repression and then bringing it to light and then going through the forgiveness and the awareness and then coming to a point of reconciliation. I mean, it was just like exactly what we're talking about. I mean, the balance here is the dark and coming to light. You know, it's being forced with all of this, repression and what I've come to understand as mind control through our abusive behaviors and how it dictates our patterning to this day, and only through the passage of confronting this darkness, as a warrior, as a spiritual warrior, and bringing the awareness to the present time, having the forgiveness, and then being able to move forward, can we then embrace the light? And this is the contrast. This is the balance. You talk about the yin and the yang. What is balance? What are we balancing here? Well, we're balancing our traumas with our greater sense of self. And it's like going back to Poe, this is the pit and the pendulum. We have this pendulum swinging and the trauma of this pendulum, and it's like, I'm just like a million miles in light years away here. I mean, this has got to be a show. This has got to be a show just to decipher this information. I mean, I don't know how we can do this, but
Do like a breakdown of
absolutely
everything that was said, and just
absolutely.
have do like a little round table or something, and
absolutely.
have people contribute. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't go too far out there. This is another thing here. I think it was Rhodan who said you need to put the pillars in place.
That would have been. No, it wasn't Rhodan.
Okay. Well, anyway, the pillars that you put in place in the heavens need to be also installed on this planet, because only then can we create a conduit. So you're also, from my interpretation, is we need to establish the pillars of humanity on this planet in order to balance and counterbalance the pillars of the gods, of the avatars. And, I just kind of wrote this down quickly: compassion, love, truth, forgiveness, and transformation. As counting to 4 elements with the ability to ascend into this transformation, into the ability to heal into a greater light. And, and it's just, where do I start and begin here? I mean, it's just like, I have to turn my paper sideways because I'm writing in all different angles here. But, I also feel, that Thor alluded to the fact that Kraton was his brother, and you were married to both brothers, because you can't buy for a throne unless you're blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was a really interesting fact, is that they're brothers and you were wed to both. And so you were actually wed to the light and the dark. And because of that, you have the understanding and the knowledge of both contrasts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so phenomenal, man. I mean, I'm just like, I am just, I can't even begin to start this. I mean, I'm giving you some very, bits and pieces here, but oh my God,
start with a breath.
I've had people say to me that, they don't understand because I can relate to both, and I couldn't understand it either. It was almost like they wanted me to take a role. Are you here to talk to people in the contrast or to darkness? Or are you here to talk to people in the light? And in both, I'm bringing in the light for both, but it's just relating and understanding where the people that are in contrast are in.
Well, he referred to you as a bridge. Well, you can't bridge. You have to have knowledge of both to create a bridge. And this is why you had both aspects of light and dark, is because now you have the understanding and the awareness to bridge both worlds together, which then create, this dimensional healing, which is needed on both planes. We need the healing on both planes. And this is the bridge down here. See, as above, so below, as you pointed out, JP, it's really important that we are in sync. I also really, I'm starting to actually admire Kraton because, for 20 years, I wore nothing but black clothing. Embracing my black, you look at the goth movement, you look at these young kids, they have to break away in order to understand who they are. They have to be rebellious and do dark things and explore. Well, yeah, and that is part of evolution. Absolutely, you have to get through the dark. I don't really, as I've said before, I stand on the firelight, on the edge of the fire ring where you're in and out of both realities. That's the bridge. And Kraton's not he's not an evil person. He is actually to be admired, to hold down this much force and energy to bring the contrast to this planet is absolutely, he has to be above gods to do this and to maintain a sense of morality, because I can hear the morality in his voice. He's not here as an evil person. He's here to hold down the contrast.
But he just got filled with so much of the contrast. It affected his thinking. It affected the way he reacted.
I believe that might have been elements of his being, but I think ultimately I kind of hear that he's holding true to some element that might be dormant, but I feel his compassion in as much as he held it down. That was like a major job that he had to hold it down without compromise. This is phenomenal, man. Absolutely phenomenal.
Without it collapsing, everything collapsing in on us. And so he was doing holding the space. Thor was holding the space so we wouldn't invert, being in Agartha. And so that they're all, holding the space in many ways. And we're learning. They're giving us time to learn and to raise and ascend and stop creating more of this dark matter on the planet, and learning to embrace and appreciate each one of us for who we are and what we contribute. So, it's an amazing message. It has so many different dimensions and levels to it. In the same time, you see the innocence of Borkum just reaching out and saying, hey, there's my old friend. Why can't we all be together? Why is there this separation between us? There's Primus, and it started off with Andronicus. He started Andronicus couldn't handle him. And then he was I could actually hear the banging, like he was banging on like glass, trying to break through this barrier, this clear barrier, trying to get through and communicate, with JP. And the whole thing was it was wild. It's like spirits on the other side trying to communicate with us, saying, hey, I'm okay, I'm alright, someone that had passed that we loved very much. They're right there, but it's like this barrier that's there. And, opening up our hearts will lift that barrier, not so much, block us from communicating anymore. So Viking, I see you too as holding, you were, what Thor said is you've been holding that space. You held on, despite, any type of feeling like abandoned, and loneliness or whatever, feeling like you're out there still holding on. I'm sure you can very much relate to what Kraton was saying, because he was doing the same thing, feeling like he was abandoned. Hey, I did all the heavy lifting and did all this work. There's no one here. There's no one here to support this. So, I think that was mentioned too by Thor.
Yeah, as I pointed out, it's because of that experience that I do have a lot of compassion and empathy for Kraton. It's not an easy task. I mean, you're given this responsibility to, as I see it, guard the gate. You know, it's one of the pillars, and then you're like, okay, you know, you're just kind of dropped off. It's like a one-man mission, and I've been here for, it seems like eons, and finally coming to understanding and finding the recognition and being able to be validated is really a healing experience. You know, but holding true is really key here. Holding true no matter what you hold true, and it's like there's no other course of action. You hold true, and there's no other choice. You know, that you basically are, you know, absorbed in the resonance of that vibration of maintaining that the frequency is pure and clean and uninterrupted, and it is both light and dark. But I mean, ultimately though, it manifests in my life as just an essence of who I am, and an aspect of love and compassion and just forgiveness and moving forward, because what I was holding down was the integrity and ethics of humankind, you know, being able to stay true and stay on course and not lose this love and forgiveness and faith, and being able to know that we'll all, you know, join again as tribe.
Right. And we're all, you know, each one of us is, you know, we all have a role in this. All of us are doing our part. And some are consciously doing it, some of it are subconsciously doing it, and some are maybe not up for doing it yet. They're still healing. They're going through the process. So we're all at different levels. And then of course there are some that are choosing not to do it at this time, which is unfortunate for them because they're missing out. Because there's this victory, there's this camaraderie that we're starting to come together and saying, hey, this is great. You know, we've been all doing this work independently for so many years and most of our lives. And a lot of us are like, I hate to say it, but it's like we're coming out of the closet and saying, yeah, but I was doing this. Really? Well, you know, I was doing this part of it and you were doing that part of it. And just like coming together and finding out how we're all creating this reality while our ancestors, our spiritual ancestors, are kind of going through this similar process. It's like the awakening is not just on one level, an emotional level. I think it's on other levels, other dimensions, other realities. I think everyone's going to experience it. Maybe all at once, maybe independently. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to finding out.
Well, this experience is a resonance that vibrates, as I believe, it vibrates through the galaxies and the universes. This is like a pivotal time, as you pointed out, for everybody, including, you know, the higher avatars, as you would call gods. You know, they are depending upon us as much as we are depending upon them. It is a unification factor here that the healing is happening on both levels, and I believe the communications are coming through to you to be able to impart this insight so that we can do our job. You know, and as pillars, I mean, we're talking about pillars of our community. I mean, this is throughout the world. You know. And to be able to afford, this compassion, because as we balance this light and dark, it really is about going back and as we had talked about on Sunday, just coming clean, you know, and being able to heal the trauma and heal the anxiety. So it's not, he mentioned at one point about being clear and on guard and vigilant about distractions from the Nazis, that they're going to toy with you. We had that on Sunday night. You know, you're toyed with, and we got to be careful that we don't lose our allegiance through distraction from the dark side, from dark entities, and possibly even people that are absorbed in their conflict that can't resolve it, aren't willing to resolve it, but we still get sucked in. These are very important aspects to be aware of as we move forward. That how do we hold true to ourselves? Where do we invest ourselves? You know, being able to be available, you know, to our to our tribes so that we can, heal as one. I believe it is a healing as one. I believe it will be an ascension as one. And I think at this very moment, it's going to be, I can't explain it. It's going to be something that's going to happen simultaneously on both levels.
Right. I mean, sometimes I'm just speechless when you talk, Viking. I mean, there's such wisdom, and I know it's the wisdom of the ancients, and it's like you never forgot it, and when you talk, I think people just listen and say, wow, he still remembers. There's something about what he's saying that goes deep, and it has a lot of depth. There's a lot of people that know how to, command verbally and have a discussion with someone. And then there are those that run deep like the rivers, go deep into the caverns. And those are the ancients speaking forward. And it's a remembrance of that. And I thank you for that gift that you're sharing with us today.
Well, I'm speechless here. I try to maintain as much, I don't know. I'm kind of, I'm just doing what I'm just doing what I believe to be as true as I can to be on task. And I have been trained, to be able to receive and understand certain information. It comes to me from a very high source, as I explained on Sunday. As much as my higher nature, as my lower nature, is because I trust that what I see is appropriate, and I don't doubt it. And as JP pointed out, it's like a quest. There was actually a cartoon when I was a kid called Johnny Quest, and he was, every time I receive this information that leads me to the next, it's an unfolding, and I believe we all can tap into this. We just have to start trusting and paying attention to what is the information is at hand. Because it is coming from our higher source. And from our higher source, we are all connected. We are all part of this collective consciousness, individually, but also as one, and it's not very hard. In fact, it's actually very simple. It just requires acceptance and giving yourself permission to start listening. That's all they want you to do, is to listen. The minute you start validating it, it will grow. It will expand. It will become as much of you on the higher as the lower. It's not like it's more important, because we need the lower and the higher to balance as one.
Excellent. So, JP, we're having a little bit of a discussion going back and forth in Skype. Did you want to do a roundtable on this, or?
I have a friend coming to see me in the real world. I could, if you wanted to, I could let you run on for 2 hours, and then I've got Strange Universe. Or I could be present at 7 p.m. and we can reconvene and come in with all the new knowledge that we've gained in the last 6 hours, because it's that quick. How about that, everybody? Is that a deal?
I actually need a copy of this, and I was thinking it might be a good Sunday service, to give me time to actually dissect it. And I mean, I think it might be a little too soon. The information is so strong and so powerful. And
okay, that's a thought. That's a good thought. Well, let's talk about that. I might have a space.
Yeah,
on
and then
Sunday.
we could share the information with everybody. They can read through it, and then then have a bigger discussion on it, because it's a very, very intense litany of information.
And by the way, I've got another Simon Park show coming up on Sunday. I haven't told anybody yet, but we discussed it the other day, and I've forgotten to, in all the stuff that's going on. But it's going to be a very interesting Sunday. So come on at 3. I think I've got a space on Sunday there.
Sunday at 3 Eastern Standard Time, or what time?
3 Pacific. Always Pacific. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can have 2 hours to express yourself, Randy. How's that?
I like the idea of Sunday service. It's really good to me.
The alternative Sunday service on
services. So we're going to do the round table regarding to this show in particular. Yeah. Everyone, we're going to have a few different people are invited. Now, Peter Berger was trying to get on, earlier and wanted to say a few things. He has some feedback and new information.
Yeah, so we'll do a thing tonight.
Hello people, that's the problem.
Yeah.
I've got really bad news for you.
All right, so don't give us...
I mean, some of them are bad, some of them are good, but we have progress. Finally, we've got movement.
Okay, we've got movement. Peter, let's save it till later. Let's get everybody...
Okay. No problem.
And we've got to finish this show. Jessica, thank you so much.
Thank you, JP.
Say good night.
Good night to everybody, and thank you so much for participating. Join us this Sunday at 3 Pacific time, and we're going to discuss more about this.